Milton Erickson was a remarkable man. He was born in 1901 and died in 1980. He was founding president of the American Society for Clinical Hypnosis and a fellow of the American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, and the American Psychopathological Association. He is also noted for influencing brief therapy, strategic family therapy, family systems therapy, solution-focused brief therapy, and neuro-linguistic programming. At age 17, he contracted polio and was so severely paralyzed that the doctors believed he would die. He credited this with triggering his first auto-hypnotic experience, which initiated the path for his career for the next 60-plus years. Much later in his 50s, he developed post-polio syndrome characterized by pain and muscle weakness caused by the chronic overuse of partially paralyzed muscles. The condition left him even more severely paralyzed. After this second recovery, he was obliged to use a wheelchair and suffered chronic pain for the balance of his life, which he controlled with self-hypnosis. By all accounts, Milton Erickson was an exceptional therapist who had the ability to communicate directly with an individual's subconscious mind using various hypnotic techniques and was successful in healing all manner of psychological and physical ailments. He is noted for his approach to the subconscious mind as creative and solution generating. I find it interesting that many of the current popular therapists today paint a totally different picture of the subconscious mind, the role it plays, and its creative abilities. If you review Erickson's case studies and treatments, you might conclude he was simply a natural, intuitive healer. He believed it was not only an option, but a preferable option for the therapist to enter a trance as well as the patient for treatment. His subconscious mind was directly interacting with the subconscious mind of his patients, and perhaps this could partly explain his success rate. If the subconscious mind did not have its own creative resources, of course this would never have transpired. When studying Milton Erickson, I found one of the most impressive aspects of his life was his research. Many of his studies spanned decades and involved thousands of subjects. As I mentioned, many popular therapists, writers, and speakers take a different view of the subconscious mind, but I would argue that there's not been anyone before or since who has a greater personal experience or scientific research into the characteristics and nature of the subconscious mind that Milton Erickson has. Anyone wanting to delve into the nature of the mind would be wise to start with his books and teachings and those books and articles written about him. Erickson believed that the subconscious mind was always listening, and that whether or not the patient was in a trance, suggestions could be made which would have a hypnotic influence, as long as those suggestions found resonance at the subconscious level. The patient could be aware of this, or could be completely oblivious that something was happening. Erickson would see if the patient would respond to one or another indirect suggestion and allow the subconscious mind to participate actively in the therapeutic process. In this way, what seemed like a normal conversation might induce a hypnotic trance or a therapeutic change in the patient. Unfortunately, we don't have access to his brilliance to assist us with the changes we want in our lives. Many years ago, I stumbled on the self-hypnotic technique we use in mind alignment. It was described as a technique that his wife Elizabeth used to control her chronic pain that she suffered from. Mind alignment is predicated on communicating with your subconscious and recognizing its characteristics that Milton Erickson acknowledged. As you learn this technique and become more familiar with your subconscious mind, you will realize that Erickson's research and teachings were accurate in describing the nature of this part of you that makes up over 90% of your brain's processing power. Isn't that fascinating? We have this brilliant part of us at our disposal that we either want to ignore or at best discredit. In mind alignment, we use the technique described in the lesson to connect with our subconscious minds. In this exercise, that is the only intent. We're not going in and changing things. It would be like moving home to your parents, and the first day back you rearrange the furniture and discard some of their most prized possessions. You have to take the time to connect and reacquaint yourself with this part of you that has been suppressed for many years. When you were first born and up until an age of awareness, your subconscious mind and conscious mind were extremely closely aligned. In Zen, they describe a child's reaction to a beautiful flower. They instinctively reach for it without logical thought. They recognize and appreciate the beauty. Zen Buddhists recognize this as the desirable state they strive to achieve. As an adult, sadly, when I see a sunset, I pause and I say something to the effect, "Wow, isn't that spectacular?" and then move on to other things. We cognitively process that it is beautiful and we should appreciate it. Your subconscious mind and your conscious mind have been separated for a long time. Wouldn't that be wonderful if we could reconnect and once again be enveloped in the beauty of a rose or a sunset? Lose yourself in that miracle? Well, we can, but not by underestimating any aspect or being disparaging in any way about that part of us that controls the key to our mind alignment and our happiness. In this exercise, we're going to use the guided meditation to reconnect. As you feel more comfortable and familiar with this process, the guided meditation may become superfluous, and it might be your choice to go it alone and simply make the connection. Do this meditation as often as you like over the next 2 weeks, and in the future, never hesitate to go back to this process for communion with yourself. At this stage, we aren't trying to make any changes. We are simply trying to make a connection and relate. Record your observations in Plus Mindset. Simply make a journal under Personal Blog, and each time you have another insight or observation, write it down. Recording this information will serve you over time and facilitate a more meaningful, understanding, and lasting relationship. Isn't just the thought of connecting with your subconscious exhilarating and exciting? Reconnecting with a long-lost friend, your long-lost best friend that knows absolutely everything about you? Yes, they might have some quirks that you're not familiar with, and you might find a bit odd at first, but once connected, you will know that this is you and a part of you that is there as an infinitely creative source of ideas, resources, transformation, and ultimately comfort.